next number as a decimal. Okay, so a decimal means I need to divide. Okay, so 200 does not go into 77. So I need to put a decimal and add some zeros. Okay, so 200 doesn't go into 77, but it does go into 770, right? You see that? So 200, 400, 600, 3 times. 3 times 200 is 600. I need to subtract that amount off. So 600 minus 770 minus 600 is 170. Let's bring down the next zero. Now, does 2,000 divide into 1,700? 200 divide into 1,700? Yes, it does. It goes in 8 times. 8 times 200 is 1,600. Subtract that off. That's a 100. Now look, I don't have anything left to bring down, but see this 0.00? Every zero I add after the decimal doesn't matter. Notice, this is still 77. Even though I added a zero, it's still 77. Okay, so I'm going to bring this down. How many times does 200 go into 1,000? 2, 4, 6, 8, 1,000. Okay, 5 times. 5 times 200 is 1,000. Subtract it off. I am left with nothing. So there's my answer. So as a decimal, this is 0.385 or 385 thousandths. This one as a decimal. 20 is dividing 1. Now 20 can't go into 1. So let's add a 0. So I'm going to put a decimal. It doesn't go into 1. Does 20 go into 10? No, 20 doesn't even go into 10. So I'm going to put another 0. Does 20 go into 100? Yeah, 20 goes into 100. 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. 5 times. 5 times 20 is 100. 100 minus 100 is 0, so I'm done. Now what is really important about this is noticing how 20 did not go into 1, so I put a 0. 20 did not go into 10, so I put another 0. 20 finally did go into 100 5 times, so notice that the 5 goes directly above the 100 place on that, okay? So here's the answer, 0.05. All right, next one. How many times does 75 go into 12? 75 dividing 12. Okay, 75 does not go into 12. Doesn't go into it. So I'm going to add some zeros. Decimal 0, 0, 0. So this is still the number 12. Let's bring this decimal straight up. 75 goes into 120 1 times. 1 times 75 is 75. Subtract all of this, so that's going to be 45. Bring down a 0. 75 goes into 450 6 times. 6 times 75 is exactly 450. So 450 minus 450 is 0. There's nothing left over, so this is done. Okay, 8 and, so I know in my answer it's going to be 8 point something, all right? I need to take this and convert it into a decimal. So 40 dividing 21. It's going to be kind of difficult, but here we go. 40 doesn't go into 21. So let's put a decimal and add a few zeros. Put a decimal. So 40 does go into 210. It goes into it 5 times. 5 times 40 is 200. 210 minus 200 is 10. Bring down a 0. How many times does 40 go into 100? 2 times. 2 times 40 is 80. Subtract 100 minus 80 is 20. We can put another 0 here because look, 21, it's still after the decimal, so the zeros don't matter. So 200. How many times does 40 go into 200? 5 times. 5 times 40 is 200. Subtract. There's nothing left over, so that's my answer. So it's 8 and 21/40 is 0.525. So That's the final answer there. Okay. I'm only going to do one more question, and that's all you guys have to do if you want to get bare minimum. So here it is. 10. It says, last week, a share of stock gained a total of 1 and 64 hundredths points. Express this gain as a mixed number in simplest form. Okay, so my answer is going to start off with 1. Okay, now I need to take 64 hundredths, and convert that into a fraction. So here's 64 hundredths. I'm going to convert it into a fraction. So divide both 64 and 100 by 4. That'll work. 64 divided by 4 is going to be 16. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So this is 16 25ths. So 1 and 16 25ths. 1 and 16 25ths. Okay, that's it for this video, guys. And I guess if you want some more points, if you want some extra credit, like here it is. Let me zoom out some. Anywhere it says extra practice. Okay, extra practice right here. It's on page 95. Okay, do page 95, and that would get you some extra points right there. Okay, page 95 will get you extra points.